Hello, friends. Welcome to New Revelations Odyssey, a place where we explore the divine phenomenon of progressive revelations which has been brought forward by new revelations across faiths. And by that, we mean all faiths. I am not a missionary of any religion but of faith in the living God, who is the source of all true religions in the world. Irrespective of the separations created by man and society on ethical, moral, or traditional grounds, we keep our eyes and ears open to the divine whispers that tend to slip through the knots of the mind, and more so in the influence of the turbulent times that we are currently living in. In this video, we will address important questions like: has the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age ended? In which Yuga are we currently living in? Which Yuga will follow the Kali Yuga? And ultimately, when will the Satya Yuga or the Golden Age begin? To address this question, we will analyze various independent sources which illuminate striking new things about this topic. We will also compare and contrast these revelations to come to a conclusion which give us a better understanding of the times that we are living in, what we can expect in the future, and most importantly, what is the significance of these times in our own spiritual journey. So, let us begin. In the previous videos, we explored many authoritative sources claiming that the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age has ended. One significant source is Swami Sri Yukteswar's book, The Holy Science, which takes reference from the Hindu scripture Manusmriti. In this book, Swami Sri Yukteswar revived the knowledge from the Manusmriti to explain the cycle of the yugas by correlating it with the dual motion of the sun. It makes an astonishing revelation that the sun may actually have a partner star, and its revolution around this partner star directly affects the cycle of yugas or the cosmic cycle of time. According to Swami Sri Yukteswar's explanation of the yuga cycle, the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age has already ended, and currently, that is in the year 2023, we are in the year 323 of the expanding Dwapar Yuga or the Bronze Age, as opposed to the declining Dwapar Yuga, which is followed by Kali Yuga. The expanding Dwapar is followed by Treta Yuga or the Silver Age, and ultimately Satya Yuga or the Golden Age. Now, Sri Yukteswar's book is not the only source which talks about the end of Kali Yuga, but there are many other independent sources and signs which confirm this claim. Prominent among them are Return of Immortal Lord Hanuman, Vishwa Amara, and the recently revived scripture Bhavishya Malika, which was composed only 600 years ago by Swami Achyutananda Das, one of the Panchasakhas or divine companions of Lord Jagannath and incarnation of Vishnu himself. The Bhavishya Malika is a series of texts that contains many clear prophecies about the events that will unfold in the Kali Yuga before the Kalki avatar comes to destroy all the evildoers and re-establish dharma or righteousness on earth. Originally composed in Odia, which is the official language of the state of Orissa in India, is now less known but slowly gaining popularity and attention as it is being translated into English, Hindi, and other mainstream languages, thus reaching more and more people across the world. Now, all these sources have one thing in common for sure. All of them affirm that the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age is much shorter than its commonly believed period of 432,000 years. However, they differ in the matter of the time of the beginning of the Golden Age. Firstly, we have already studied Swami Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle. So, without going into detail, we will highlight important points conveyed by Sri Yukteswar in his book The Holy Science. What inspired Swami Sri Yukteswar to write The Holy Science, which is also known as a modern scripture? What was the purpose of this book? It all began at Kumbh Mela in January 1894 in the Indian city of Allahabad, now known as Prayagraj. Kumbh Mela is the world's largest religious gathering of Hindus, which is held every 12 years. In this Kumbh Mela, Swami Sri Yukteswar met with Mahavatar Babaji, who is known by many as an immortal master, who revived the ancient science of Kriya Yoga, which is called the highway to enlightenment. The detailed story of Mahavatar Babaji meeting Swami Sri Yukteswar can be found in Autobiography of a Yogi, a spiritual masterpiece written by one of the greatest spiritual masters of the 20th century, Paramhans Yogananda, who himself is the disciple of Swami Sri Yukteswar. These are the words that Mahavatar Babaji spoke to Swami Sri Yukteswar in the Kumbh Mela of January 1894. Mahavatar Babaji said to Swami Sri Yukteswar, "East and West must establish a golden middle path of activity and spirituality combined. India has much to learn from the West in material development. In return, India can teach the universal methods by which the West will be able to base its religious beliefs on the unshakable foundations of yogic science. You, Swamiji, have a part to play in the coming harmonious exchange between Orient and the Occident. Some years hence, I shall send you a disciple whom you can train for yoga dissemination in the West. The vibrations there of many spiritually seeking souls come flood-like to me. I perceive potential saints in America and Europe waiting to be awakened." In this utterance of Mahavatar Babaji to Swami Sri Yukteswar, there are two important things that Babaji mentioned. First, he said that Sri Yukteswar has a part to play in the harmonious exchange between the East and the West. Second, Babaji will send a disciple to Sri Yukteswar who is destined to disseminate the yogic teachings in the West. Both these prophecies of Babaji came true when Swami Sri Yukteswar wrote The Holy Science, which harmonizes the teachings of the Bible with the Eastern teachings of yoga. Secondly, Sri Yukteswar met the promised disciple Paramhans Yogananda in 1910, that is 16 years after this prophecy. Paramhans Yogananda later went on to become one of the most influential Indian spiritual masters to teach in the West. It is interesting to note that while Mahavatar Babaji is the first guru of this lineage, starting from Lahari Mahashay, followed by Swami Sri Yukteswar and Paramhans Yogananda, His Holiness is not limited to one lineage, but he has initiated many gurus independently into the revived science of Kriya Yoga over generations. Above and beyond, we find the most recent words of the immortal master Mahavatar Babaji in Mahavatar Babaji's New Gospel, the True Gospel of All Prophets, which is a compilation of his lectures in his own words, highlighting the commonalities between all religions and exhorting the fact that no matter which path you follow, it leads to the same goal, which is God consciousness. According to Sri Yukteswar's Cycle of the Yugas, the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age ended in the year 1700, and currently in the year 2023 we are in the 325th year of the expanding or ascending Dwapar Yuga, and the Satya Yuga or the Golden Age will begin in the year 7698, which is roughly 5600 more years to go from now. Apart from Sri Yukteswar's Cycle of Yugas, there are other independent authoritative sources which also mention the end of the Dark Age. However, they differ in their statement about the time of arrival of Satya Yuga or the Golden Age and the period in which we are currently living in. The second source which we will explore is Bhavishya Malika, a series of prophetic texts composed 600 years ago by Mahapurush Achyutananda Maharaj Das, who is considered one of the 5 divine companions of Lord Jagannath of Puri, who is considered the avatar of Lord Krishna. The Bhavishya Malika is not yet well known because it was originally composed in Odia the official language of the Indian state of Orissa. However, now it is being translated into mainstream languages like English and Hindi, and soon gaining popularity as it is reaching more and more people across the world. According to a scholar of the Bhavishya Malika, Pandit Sri Kashinath Mishra, currently the human civilization on earth is in the Yuga Sandhya, literally the evening of the dark age, or the transition phase from the dark age to the light age. Pandit Sri Kashinath Mishra also quotes from the Bhavishya Malika that when planet Shani or Saturn enters the Revati Nakshatra, that is the Pisces constellation, it will mark the beginning of various disasters which are predicted to occur in the Bhavishya Malika. It also states that the Kalki avatar is already born and is likely to make a public appearance soon, but there is no clue about when or how that will happen. Even Vishwamara discloses subtle hints about the Kalki avatar's public appearance. According to this article of Vishwamara, Lord Kalki was last seen when he materialized at a religious gathering in Kenya in the year 1988. When Lord Kalki appears, or in Vishwamara terms materializes again, his form may be completely different from the previous time. According to Vishwamara, Lord Kalki's public appearance was postponed once because it was decided that the time was not ripe. Now Lord Kalki has Kripacharya Maharaj as his guru and guardian, and he will be assisted by all the beings of Shambhala in his task. In essence, Lord Kalki is getting ready to manifest his works on the physical plane. Lord Kalki's journey has not been an easy one, and it has been full of struggle and effort. Recently, he has also suffered physical injuries along the way. But after every struggle, he emerges more inevitable and stronger. Now Lord Kalki is not an ordinary being, but a plenary portion of Mahavishnu himself, who has descended to the earth with a grand mission of not only liberating every human soul on earth, but also of fashioning the earth into Surloka, or the abode of gods, and preparing it for the upcoming light age. Coming back to the quote from the Bhavishya Malika, that when planet Shani or Saturn enters the Pisces sign, it will mark the beginning of various disasters which are predicted to occur in the Bhavishya Malika. Now the planet Saturn enters the Pisces constellation every 27 years and remains there for 2 to 3 years. As of now, in October 2023, the planet Saturn is already in the Pisces constellation. Saturn entered Pisces 7th of March 2023 and will remain there till the 24th of May 2025. Additionally, the Bhavishya Malika makes some exclusive claims of its own. Prominent among them is that the age of the Kali Yuga being shortened to 5,000 years from its original length of 432,000 years due to specific major sins or misdeeds by humans. In his book Uddhav Bhakti Pradayani, Mahapurush Achyutananda Maharaj captured the conversations between Uddhav and Lord Sri Krishna. When asked by Uddhav, Lord Krishna elucidated numerous transgressions and wrongdoings within the era of Kali Yuga that would contribute to the diminishing span of this age. In his other books like Chaushati Patal and Nil Sundar Gita, he captures the conversations between Arjun and Lord Krishna. When Arjun inquired of Lord Krishna concerning the sins that would hasten the dwindling of Kali Yuga's overall age, Lord Krishna expounded upon 21 significant transgressions. He revealed the extent to which each of these sins would contribute to the reduction of Kali Yuga's age, ultimately diminishing it to a mere 5,000 years. Indeed, these sins encompass acts such as murder, abduction, abortion, the usurpation of others' wealth and property, causing harm to fellow beings, and the abandonment of one's devotion to God, among others. As per the Bhavishya Malika and numerous texts authored by the revered Mahapurush Achyutananda Maharaj in Odia, it is evident that these transgressions have played a significant role in the reduction of Kali Yuga's age to a mere 5,000 years. But if we compare this with Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle, we hit the big question: when did the Dark Age actually end? To get to the end of this, we have to delve deeper into references which reveal hints of the end of the Dark Age. A prominent reference is the Kurukshetra war of Mahabharata, which is commonly believed to have happened 5,000 years ago. Mahabharata is the great epic which describes the events which occurred in the previous descending or declining Dwapar Yuga. Now the story of Mahabharata ends with the Kurukshetra war, believed to have wiped away an entire clan called the Kauravas. It also ends with the departure of Lord Krishna to his abode Goloka Vrindavan or Krishna Lok after the completion of the mission of his Krishna avatar. Now, if we assume the common belief that the Kurukshetra war happened 5000 years ago, then this dates to the year around 3000 BC. However, if we compare this with Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle, then we hit a contradiction. According to Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle, 3000 BC is the period when the Treta Yuga or the Silver Age had ended and the Dwapar Yuga or the Bronze Age had just begun. Now, from sources like Srimad Bhagavatam, we know that the Kurukshetra war happened at the end of Dwapar Yuga. According to Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle, the Dwapar Yuga or the Bronze Age ended in 702 BC, which is about 3000 years ago. So, did the Kurukshetra war really end more recently than the common belief today that it ended 5000 years ago? To verify this claim, I did some research and found surprising evidence from scholarly references suggesting that the Kurukshetra war most probably took place in the second millennium BC, that is around 1000 BC, as opposed to 4th millennium BC, which is commonly believed. Now, this is only one reference. There are many other studies which propose that the Kurukshetra war had happened more recently, that is around 3000 years ago. So far, we have established many new propositions with the guidance of new revelations, but our exploration is not over yet, and it cannot be complete until we integrate all these propositions into the conclusions which we can draw from them. We already discussed the Pavitrena Karyam or the Light Age project, which is being driven by Vishwa-Amara, which discloses that the process of establishment of the Light Age is not only being accelerated, but also its goal is to establish a permanent Light Age on Earth. But how is that possible? According to Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle, to come in proximity to Vishnu Nabhi or the grand center of the Milky Way, the Earth has to travel for about 8000 years more, and that is the time when Satya Yuga or the Light Age will begin. So how can this process be accelerated? The answer is in the Light Age project. As part of the Light Age project, a variety of divine energies are directly being anchored onto the Earth, which will eventually accelerate the advent of Light Age on Earth. As part of this project, many divine energies are already anchored on the Earth, and even the plants, animals and birds are able to experience the influence of these energies. Unfortunately, only man is lagging to experience these energies due to the cocoon of illusions of the worldly life that he is too busy engaging with. The influence of this illusion is so strong that it is preventing man from connecting with these energies. So how to connect with these energies which are already there on earth? The short answer is man has to open his mind and heart to prepare himself to witness these divine energies in his life. Spiritual practices like yoga, meditation, and God consciousness can help us go a long way in experiencing and integrating these energies in our daily experience. In essence, we must transcend our mundane way of living and embrace the spiritual life. So now comes the important part. What conclusions can we draw from what we learned from various sources that we studied so far? If we integrate the propositions from Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle, Bhavishya Malika and Vishwa Amara, then we come to the conclusion that it's been 3000 years since the previous declining Dwapar Yuga or the Bronze Age ended, which is marked by the Kurukshetra war. That is when the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age started, which according to Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle lasted for 2400 years, and completing its duration of 2400 years, the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age ended approximately in the year 1700, marking the beginning of the ascending Dwapar Yuga or the Bronze Age, which is the current period and currently we are in the year 323 of this ascending Dwapar Yuga. We already discussed that as per Bhavishya Malika, the duration of Kali Yuga or the Dark Age is reduced down to 5000 years. Now we should note that while the Bhavishya Malika claims that the duration of the Kali Yuga is shortened to 5000 years, it bases this claim with respect to the commonly believed duration of the Dark Age, that is 432,000 years, a reference which is also found in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it does not mention anything about the ascending Dwapar Yuga or the Bronze Age which we are currently in, or the Treta Yuga or Silver Age which will follow this ascending Dwapar Yuga as we understand from Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle. So as per Bhavishya Malika, we are actually in the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age which still has 2000 years left, and then the Satya Yuga or the Golden Age will follow. But as per Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle, we are in the Dwapar Yuga or the Bronze Age, and there are 2000 years more to go before the ascending Treta Yuga or the Silver Age begins. Keeping the differences aside about which Yuga we are currently in, the proposition of 2000 years more before the next Yuga is surprisingly common, irrespective of whether it is the Light Age or the Silver Age. Now, it may seem like we are stuck here, but thankfully we are not. From other revelations like the Vishwamara, we get to know that the Light Age project, whose purpose is to accelerate the arrival of the Light Age by anchoring new Light Age energies onto the earth. Not only that, but the upcoming Light Age is going to be a permanent one, which means that once the Light Age is established on the earth, it will be permanent and never again will there be a Dark Age. The traditional cycle of the Yugas will be abandoned altogether. With this premise now established in the light of the new revelations, we can now move on to our conclusion of marking the end of the Dark Age and the arrival of the Light Age. Considering the current year, which is 2023, 2000 years from now is the year 4023 approximately. So the question is, will the year 4023 be the start of the Silver Age or the Golden Age? To answer this, we have one more new revelation to our rescue, and the new revelation is called the Word Appears in the Flesh.
The Word Appears in the Flesh, mainly an Abrahamic new revelation, reveals to us the 6,000-year management plan of God.
For now, we will not go into details of this management plan of God as revealed in the Word Appears in the Flesh. We will only take the key points required to reach our conclusion.
According to the Word Appears in the Flesh, this 6,000-year management plan of God is split into 3 parts of 2,000 years each. Let me explain it briefly.
The first part is the Age of Law, which began when Moses gave the 10 commandments of God. This Age of Law ended when Jesus allowed himself to be crucified on the cross to redeem humanity from its sins, and that marked the end of the Age of Law and the beginning of the Age of Grace. After 2000 years of the crucifixion of Jesus, the Age of Grace ended, which is in the year 2000, and that is when the Age of Kingdom began. So, according to the Word Appears in the Flesh, this is the third and the last phase of God's management plan, called the Age of Kingdom, which will continue for the next 2000 years. After 2000 years, when the Age of Kingdom concludes, it will mark the arrival of the Kingdom of God on earth, which is analogous to Satya Yuga in Hinduism, a time when the earth will be transformed into Surlok or the abode of gods. With all these premises in place, we can now conclude that the Satya Yuga, Golden Age or the Light Age will begin in the year 4000. Now, what's the implication of this on Sri Yukteswar's Yuga cycle? The implication is that the current Dwapar Yuga or the Bronze Age will not be followed by Treta Yuga or the Silver Age, but it will be the Light Age. Not only this, but this Light Age will be permanent. This means that the traditional Yuga cycle will be discontinued and there will never be a Dark Age again on earth. Now, 2000 years seems to be a very long time, isn't it? But hold on, let me remind you again that the Light Age energies are all around us and we can experience it if we open our hearts and minds to these new energies.
Now, although it might take 2,000 years more for us to actually see the effects of the Light Age in the external world, we can still experience the Light Age in our inner world. This beckons us to turn our eyes inward and embrace the spiritual mindset if we are to experience these light age energies within us and ultimately manifest the light outside once we have gained access to this light internally. Practices like meditation, yoga, and God consciousness will help immensely in these times.
Remember that the process of the advent of the golden age is not one way, but it's a two-way process. Why? Because the consciousness of man is freed by God. Man has the free will to either obey God and follow His will, or choose to deny God's words and will and continue living his life and accept his destiny without God. The question arises, what will happen if we choose to deny God in our life? This profound question begs a separate undertaking, so we will address this question in another video.
One important lesson that we learn from the new revelations discussed so far is that the dates are not important and can change. For each of us, the focus should be on transformation and spiritualizing and not the external factors.
So, with the conclusion of this video, we have just begun our journey. This is only the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot more to talk about this journey of new revelations, which we will continue to explore. In future videos, we will focus on more subtle topics about aligning with the energies of the light age. We will explore bright new revelations and teachings from the new revelations, like the new teachings of immortal Lord Hanuman in the Dark Age, Mahavatar Babaji's new gospel, true gospel revealed anew by Jesus, the word appears in the flesh, the Urantia book, and many more. Hi everyone. If you liked this video,
Consider subscribing to this channel
and also to the New Revelations Odyssey newsletter.
This newsletter draws inspiration from the illuminating insights provided by the new revelations. For those who are keen to explore further, I will be sharing the original chapters from various new revelations on our website, which were discussed in this video. Furthermore, subscribing to the newsletter will grant you access to these chapters delivered to your email.
Thanks for watching.